Yeah, the last name is kind of hard sometimes.
Sorry, and Autumn Lawrence-Barnette, right? Is that how
Yep.
you say that? I said
Hello.
that right. Okay. Welcome, ladies. Welcome. Oh, look at
Hi.
Dylan. She put
Thanks
up
for having
welcome
us.
to Romance Happy
We're getting
Hour.
fancy. We have a banner.
Awesome. So, Dylan, what have you been working on? Have you been to any new events? I mean, you're usually a busy lady, so
What have I been working on since we last spoke? I had just gotten back from Florida, I think, right? When we last
yeah.
did this. And then
Well, I was absent the last one, so I don't
oh,
know.
that's right. So you weren't here. I had just gotten back from Florida, from an authors conference, and I'm going to another one next week. So I'm in author conference season. And then I'm actually doing a local event this Saturday in Minneapolis. Well, it's actually in Eagan, Minnesota. So I'll be there. It's a like fall craft show, but I'll be there with books and book t-shirts and all that. And then I mean, I've just continue to work on, my next books for Eve, and then my next book for Dylan. So
Fun.
never a dull moment, Dawn.
So, on the show, we were just talking about this in November. You were going to be at a conference, correct? Or is that a writer's
No,
retreat?
neither.
Oh, okay.
So I'm sneaking away to go visit my oldest, who is studying for a semester abroad in Greece.
That's
So
right. That's what it was.
yes, so I will not be, I'll be here next time, but then I won't be here the time after that because
No.
I will be, I think, I think the show is the day after I arrive, so I'll probably still be jet lagged.
Yeah. On the other side of the world.
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's like 8 hours ahead over there. So I will not be joining you because that would be what, 4 in the morning?
Yeah. No, that's totally fine. Don't join us. I want you to sleep and have fun with your daughter.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But everything's good here. How about you? What have you been up to?
I am getting a book ready for release. I think we release on the 22nd, I think. My days have been so crazy with my children and everything, but I'm pretty sure it's the 22nd. That's Romance in Oak Harbor or Oak Valley. Um, and that's the doggy app book. So I'm
Oh,
pretty
good.
excited.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a fun book.
Yeah,
Lots of dogs.
I haven't read it since we
Yeah,
talked about that concept. I mean, that's been like years ago now.
it was years ago. And then I've had several, my agent got a hold of it and, changed it a little bit. My
Mhm.
beta readers, my editors, everybody. So, but it was a fun book. It was a lot of fun to write. And I kind of put it away for a little bit too.
Mhm.
And then I just recently went to revise it because I have a short story in an anthology that's
Mhm.
kind of a prequel to it out, and so I wrote that, and I had to kind of go back and meld the components, and
Mhm.
so
Yep.
um, it was a lot of fun to reread, and yeah, I love it. I like that
Good.
book a lot.
Good.
So
I can't
that
wait to
one's
see that one.
yeah, it'll be released in a couple weeks, and other than that, if football season's winding up tomorrow is my football player's last game and they're undefeated. So,
Ooh,
yeah, he's pretty proud, but
good.
yeah. So what about you ladies? Autumn, I think you're reading first for us today. So why don't you go first? What have you been introduce us, tell us a little bit about yourself, what you're working on, what you're giving away, and then we'll go over to Maureen with the same questions.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, hi, I'm Autumn. um, like what I'm working on as in future projects or like
Anything currently or what you just
okay.
released or future
Well,
projects?
I just released Someday Never Came in July. It was my debut novel. And actually the audiobook gets to release in December and I am stoked over that. I did not think that was going to be an opportunity that I was going to be able to have for my first book. And when it showed up, I jumped. I was
Yeah.
like, yes, absolutely sign me up. Tell me where to write my name on the dotted line.
Great.
So that was really cool. Um, and other than that, I'm currently writing one more, but we'll see how long that takes.
So are you an indie or are you traditional?
So I am an indie.
Okay.
I actually own Soulbound Publishing, and so hopefully I would like to publish books eventually as well. I
Oh,
started with my
gotcha.
own, and I hope to branch out eventually. So that's fun too, because I
Perfect.
get to work with a lot of other indie authors and kind of help
Mhm.
them through the process, which has been it's been really
Yeah.
neat. You meet a lot of cool people doing that.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome. Well, welcome to the show. So let's
Thank
see your
you for
book
having me.
cover. Put
The
that up there.
Sunday
Let
Never
everybody see
Came.
it.
Oh, sorry. There we
Very
go.
good.
I
Very
am not
pretty.
doing that well. It's
Yeah.
called Sunday Never Came. Katrina with Crimson Phoenix Creations does all of my covers. I have like 10 saved up already because I can't stop buying from her.
Uh-huh.
I love her covers. Like every time I see one, I'm like, why are you sending this to me? You know I'm gonna buy it.
Mhm.
But she's fantastic. But I
Very
love
pretty.
the
They are.
back
It
of
was.
it. I love the back of it too. It has all the shattered glass, and we put the dog tags hanging down the side on the spine, and lots of little tiny details that I like geek out over.
Mhm.
Nice.
Very cool. Yeah, there's
And
something
the,
about like holding your first book when, you get the cover and then it actually and everything, it all comes together and you actually hold your first book in your hands. I mean,
Yes, and the
that's a pretty cool
formatting
feeling.
in this book, I also like full on love. Like we went a little crazy on the formatting.
did you do your
We're
own formatting or did she help?
no,
Did somebody
so
help you?
my editor, with Sage and Sorrows editing, did my formatting, and she's fantastic. I love Alyssa. But like, look at all the hold on, wait.
Nice.
With
Wow.
all the text message bubbles, and we have handwritten letters that are actual, like they're actually like handwritten.
Very nice.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, the physical copies are there's something that like I see it and I get all gushy over them.
Mhm.
Nice.
Enjoy that. Bottle that up. Yes, because
Yeah, I know because as soon as I start writing again, I'm like, I'm never doing this.
well, then it's still fun and it's still really cool to see your books come out, but
Mhm.
I feel like there's nothing as quite as special as the first one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, at
You know
least, I don't know,
what's
for me.
funny to me is when it came out though, I didn't want to look at it. I was like, I was so over this book. I didn't want to read it. I didn't want to read the final draft. They had to force me to sit down and be like, "Are you sure there's nothing else you want to change?" And I was like, "I don't care. Get it done. I do not want to look at this thing for one more second."
Mhm.
And then when I finally got it in the mail, though, I was like, "Oh, my baby."
Yeah. I love babies. Every baby is a new baby. And so what are you giving away and what do our viewers need to do to enter?
Okay, so I'm going to be giving away the Someday Never Came paperback. I will do a US paperback giveaway, and I'll go ahead and open a ebook giveaway for international as well. I will
Okay.
get the graphic up on my page tomorrow sometime. So all you got to do though is you can follow me on Instagram, like, share the post to your story, and you'll be good to go.
Perfect.
Great.
Okay.
So Noreen, tell us a little bit about yourself, what you're working on, what you're reading from, what you're giving away, anything you want our viewers to know.
Sure. So I am working on book number 3, which is a Great Expectations retelling. It's set in India with a little bit of Sabrina vibes and a little bit of Serena vibes. So that's my work in progress that I hope to go on submission on for soon. My debut book, which was The Misarrangement of Sana Saeed. I don't know if you can see the cover. I don't know.
We can see right
It's
there,
kinda
right
hard.
there.
Yeah.
I know it goes in and out when you've got the different background.
Yeah. So anyway, so this is my book, and this is what I'm going to be reading from. And for the giveaway, all you have to do is follow me on Insta and sign up for my newsletter. And I am doing an audiobook giveaway. And if there's an issue with that, then an ebook. If folks are not interested in audiobook, then I can do an ebook giveaway, and that's for international or, within the US. Both of them are
Great.
open.
Awesome.
And when did your book come out?
My book came out last October, and this one is a persuasion retelling with a little bit of Romeo and Juliet vibes, and it's set here in America. The other one that I'm working on, that's set in India.
Okay.
I don't know if you knew this before you signed up for Romance Happy Hour, but Persuasion is my absolutely favorite Jane Austen book ever. So I'm
Hey,
very
mine too. I think Pride and Prejudice gets a
gets all the
lot of attention, but I
yeah.
think Persuasion is her most, I think she wrote it later in her life, and I just think it's just
Yeah.
much better written, and the protagonist is just very well, so
Mhm.
many layers to that character, and just
Yeah.
the politics of the family, and the whole situation where, because a lot of folks, when they read my book, and they're like, her best friend is not really her good friend, and she doesn't give her good advice, and I'm like, well, it's based on persuasion,
Yeah.
and was surrounded with people who sort of did not give her good advice, and
Mm-mm.
she sort of had to listen to her own
Heart.
self and what she wanted in order to pursue the love interest. So yeah, so it's interesting that people pick up on that, but don't like correlate it to the original persuasion,
Yeah.
and
It makes me wonder though, like, how every and Autumn, you've got this first book, and so like I know you know this for sure because I think everybody's first book is like a real big chunk of us. But every author, I think in every book, you always do a little bit of yourself in the book somewhere, right? And so it makes me wonder how much and what elements of Jane Austen's works were Jane Austen like deep inside of her. So, anyways, that's kind of
I to that, I read a very interesting tweet, and it had to do all about Jane Austen, where in life she was at the point when she wrote this book,
mhm.
because she was dependent on her brothers, and she was older, and it's almost like this was her second chance, so somebody did a very perfect tweet on this, and it just like, I'm like, yeah, I mean, it really is true. Is she was writing, it was her last book, and she was in a situation where she had to depend a lot, and she was
Mhm.
there's a lot of reflection in this book, and yeah.
So it was her last book, but then Sendition came out, which was an unfinished book of
Yeah.
hers.
Hmm.
And I watched the show. I watched the movie Sendition, and I got to like the end where I'm like, okay, this is not Jane. Like
No,
clearly, this is
so
horrible. Jane would never write this. Who were the authors that wrote this in this movie? And yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, so Sanditon, are you talking about first season
yeah.
or the second season? Yeah. So
I
Sanditon,
mean,
I
both.
think, was just like, yeah, I think she didn't even write like quarter of the other one, though, the one where what was the name of the other book that she didn't finish? It was in drafts, but like it wasn't published, and they made a movie, and oh geez, names are coming to me, but that was really funny too.
Yeah.
This is something, I don't know. It'll come to me. When it does, I'll maybe later on it'll come to me, or I'll do a quick
Yeah.
Google. So,
At 3 a.m, that's when those things always come to me.
Yes.
yeah,
Sit up in
exactly.
bed and I'm like, wait.
I'm
Yeah.
glad I'm not alone because I'm always up. I wake up at 2:30, take my meds, use the bathroom, then I don't go to sleep and I just stress about everything that's on my mind. Sometimes it's book. Actually, I plot to put myself back to sleep.
Oh, okay.
I
Do you? I'm not
do.
a plotter. I'm a pantser. So
I'm not either. That's why I put myself to sleep.
That's like a new
I'm
story.
totally a
that's a
pantser.
good one.
Mhm. I was gonna say, maybe you don't want to tell people, Dawn, that thinking of your own plots puts you to sleep.
No,
because
No,
that's
see,
that's not a really good sell for your books.
Well, the pansters would fall asleep thinking about plotting.
Yeah,
That's why
I'm
I
a
was laughing.
pantser. I'm a pantser all the way, and so I'm like, okay, let's plot. Okay, let's go. Okay, yeah.
All right. Danielle
Yeah.
says she thinks the movie was called Love and Friendship with Kate Beckinsale.
Yes, there you
Oh,
go.
is that
was
it?
Oh my gosh. Leave it to
Oh,
Danielle to know the answer to that. Good job, Danielle.
okay. Yeah.
Kate Beckinsale. That's whose name I was like completely black. I was like, there's a hot actress in there. I just the name completely. I completely blacked out on the name. Yeah, Kate Beckinsale
Oh,
was in it.
that's funny.
And it's really funny, that movie. So yeah.
Yeah.
I will have to check that out. I haven't
Yeah,
seen
I
that.
haven't watched that one.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
Me neither, but we are getting, I told you, ladies, this is going to go so fast, and it's already so fast that we need to get Autumn up there to read. So, Autumn, I'm going to put you up here, and I didn't explain this to you guys before because we were running out of time, but I'm going to put you up by yourself, and the rest of us will be muted.
Oh,
So,
lovely.
yeah.
Hi. Okay, so I am going to start with the prologue. There might be parts that I might have to bleep out, so ignore that. This comes from Someday Never Came. This is a contemporary romance book that does not have a typical HEA, fair warning. Read your trigger warnings as well. So let's get started. Prologue, Serena. Maybe this isn't a story I should be telling. Once I write this down, put pen to paper, everything becomes final. Written in stone, as they say. Writing down our story means I have no choice but to move on with my life and accept the fact that our someday never came. I suppose not all great love stories get a happily ever after. I could rewrite our story. I could give us a fairy tale ending where I make him my Prince Charming who comes in just at the right moment to save the day. I could spin the truth and say we end up living our happily ever after. I could tell you we finally find each other and all the stars align perfectly. No longer mere star-crossed lovers. We get married, we move into a big beautiful house that he of course builds for me. I tend to the roses growing along the front porch and make fresh lemonade while he mows the lawn. We raise beautiful children who are so fierce I fear for the day that we set them free into the world. They tease and they laugh so contagiously that my heart bursts at the seams. I could tell you the children are so much like him, but they have my eyes. And we live happily. Oh, so sorry. We live a happy, simple life. Then once again, Lord have mercy. I am so sorry. My eyes are going faster. Then once the children, oh my God. I think I got nervous. I'm sorry. We live a happy, simple life. Then once the kids have grown, they have children of their own, and our home is constantly filled with joy and laughter of our grandchildren, and we host each holiday. We have family dinners and watch as our family continues to grow larger and larger with each passing year. Over time, he builds me bookshelves, and we laugh every time I bring home another unnecessary coffee cup for my ever growing collection. As the years pass, we grow closer. We fall in love over and over again with each new version of one another. He keeps the promises he made to me. He vows to read to me when we grow old and I can no longer see well enough to do so on my own. I lay in his arms, listening to his heartbeat and the words he reads to me as I fall asleep for one final time. He follows me in death not long after. We live a long, beautiful life, and even when faced with trials, past demons, or everyday annoyances, we stay, we fight, and we choose us. I want to write that story. The Hallmark plot would make a beautiful feel-good movie. If I write that story, it means I can have him for a little while longer, even if it's only in my mind or for a few short paragraphs. I could play pretend. The issue with writing the Hallmark happily ever after is reality will always snap back into place. Every sentence will be false, a lie in which I reminisce about the what ifs or what could have beens. In the end, the truth is, I am no princess, and he sure is blank. was no prince coming in to save the day. In the end, that fairy tale would not be our story, and our story is more, and our story was, no, is worth more than any happily ever after. Which is why I believe there is something fundamentally wrong with girls like me. Girls who don't get the fairy tale endings, because we only ever fall for the Jensen Deans of the world. We fall for the type of guy who has you wrapped around his finger from the first interaction. Their first mother blank smirk and teasing remark. The Jensen Deans of the world will spark a fire within you, a fire that will always seem to be controlled by him and him alone. And we fall for them knowing we will ultimately end up emotionally and mentally destroyed, a shell of the person we were before we met them. The true problem is, no matter how deeply they wound us, though, we will never truly hate them, because hating them feels like hating a part of ourselves. When everything is said and done, they are part of who we are. Their actions, their words, their kisses, their mother blank touch molds us into the people we are today. If you're anything like me, if you feel as if the Jensen Dean in your life is engraved into your bones and is a part of your soul, as if at one point in your life, as if one point in time the two of you were as one, maybe that the soul tie is why no matter how much time passes, I would recognize him. I will recognize him. As if my very soul would recognize its other half, no matter where we were. My soul searches for him in every crowd, in every face. Every time I see a person who has a similar build, similar facial feature, or even the same skin tone, my silly little heart skips a beat before realizing it isn't him. It is never him. It will never be him. I have to remind myself of that, forcing my stupid heart to settle back into its chest as the hollowness returns once more. Yet my heart doesn't settle before my mind races with the possibilities of what if. I wonder if this will finally be the moment when he realizes what I have always known, what I suspect he has always knew. If he will finally come to find me after all these years, or if it will be fate that brings us back together. I wonder how we have traveled almost 30 times around the sun and still never managed to catch the other. At least that's all what I thought until today. All right, that is the prologue. I'm a sip for prologues, so I always write them. And sorry for messing up. I get nervous. I am going to skip over to, let's see, let's find a Jensen chapter. This is a dual POV. So you have Serena chapters and you have Jensen chapters. Let's see. Also, look how cute Jensen's are with his dog tags. I love those. All right. Okay, this is chapter, I don't know. Anyway, Jensen. I kiss her if it's our final time because I know it is. I want to die in our kiss, suffocate within her, and mold ourselves into one. I want to leave the best parts of me within her and let the rest vanish. The only good within me will soon be gone as she gets on that plane. And I can't breathe. The tightness in my chest makes each breath. I can't breathe. The tightness in my chest makes each breath shallower than the last. My pulse runs wild, and I can feel it through my entire body. The pounding in my ears is a warning, as if I didn't get myself under control, the unavoidable would occur. I refuse to let her last memories of me be of a man too weak to control his own emotions, a man full of regret and of panic. As she slips from my arms, I feel my own heart betray me. I feel my heart breaking, being crushed by the weight that the chance of our someday is sitting upon my chest. The weight leaves me paralyzed and completely speechless. I want to voice the words. I want to tell her I love her, and I always have. I want everything she described and more. I simply needed to turn back time. I needed to never take that first drink and let that poison consume me. Never let the liquid fire warm my cold, dead soul and bring temporary relief as it sets me ablaze, when I could have always found my salvation within her arms. I needed to wash my hands of all the blood, all the pain I've caused, the horrors I have seen and created in the name of a safer nation. Out of my arms and slipping further away from my reach, we lock eyes. A single tear was holding on for dear life as she looked at me, more like memorizing me, taking in every detail of what I'm sure was a panic-stricken face, a face full of rage and sorrow, rage at myself for knowing I'm not the man she deserves, for allowing myself to fall so far from the good-intentioned boy she once knew, the boy who loved her with a reckless abandon, rage for what I allowed the world to turn me into, at my own foolish mistakes that led me down this path, a path that seemed to have no return. Sorrow for the woman standing in front of me, the woman who so obviously had and always will love me to some degree, regardless if I was worthy of it or not. Sorry for what would come next. I allowed myself exactly 30 seconds. 30 seconds to convey the pain I felt, to let the cold expression that I have so carefully placed upon my face to falter, as I allow one single tear to mirror her own, to show her, my soulmate, the woman of my dreams, that I do in fact care. Action over spoken word. Before I slipped my carefully crafted mask back into place, the panic that had originally settled deep within me turns into resignation. A simple nod and a final touch of her long, slender fingers stroking my jawline is the last thing she offers before she turns away from me. An act that to anyone else may have looked like heartfelt, perhaps a goodbye that would only last for a few days and not a lifetime. I'm sure the gentle action looks nothing like a final goodbye, even if she doesn't realize it yet. I want nothing more than to pull her to me again. One more kiss, one more hug, one more touch. The issue is one more would never be enough. One more will never be enough when you are never whole without the other part of your soul. As if the world slows around me, I watch the love of my life slip from me for one final time. No amount of pain, no amount of torture could have prepared me for the whirlwind of emotions that hits me. I feel as if I'm in a natural disaster, with the winds tearing at me, ripping me to shreds. It feels as if I am on the ground. It feels as if the ground beneath my feet are collapsing, attempting to swallow me whole. Each step that she takes leads her further away from me. Each step feels like another part of my undoing. Something settles over me, something final. In my heart and in my mind, I know what I have to do. It was the only way that I could protect us both. Out of sight and out of my reach, my sweet serenity slips through the grass, never to be mine again. I have nothing left. Even my brothers can't save me from this reality that I have created for myself. All of my training comes back to me as I race through the crowds of people back to my truck. The truck she would never be in again. She would never play the songs that speak to me as the wind always blew through her messy waves. I shove those memories down as I approach my old Silverado and pull out my phone. Without thinking, I create a group chat with Wyatt and Grayson before sending off a text. I know that, my phone went crazy and I looked away. Without thinking, I would create a group chat with Wyatt and Grayson before sending off a text I know will cause hell to break loose. Me. She's gone. She's boarding the plane as we speak. Wyatt, what happened? Grayson, you okay? Me. I'm sorry. I know you both have sacrificed for me. I know you both only want what is best for me. Grayson, I don't like the sound of this. Wyatt, where the F are you? Grayson, what's going on? Talk to us. I wasn't meant for the civilian life, not after all this time. I can't live like this, not without her, but I sure as hell can't ask her to live life like this without me.
Good job.
No, I'm so sorry. I have dyslexia and I got nervous and it like
You
No,
did
here.
fine.
You
Yeah,
did
you did
amazing.
absolutely fine.
Yeah,
You did awesome.
it was
I was
amazing.
so
Actually, I
laughing.
was. Yeah.
Sorry, I don't know what you said.
No, you probably didn't see it, but I accidentally popped your link back up there, and I was like,
Okay.
okay with that. I was trying to actually click to it, and instead,
Instead, you
popped
showed it
the
on the
link.
screen.
Instead, I showed it on a screen.
But
So that's what
okay.
you didn't see happening while you were reading.
Well,
I know.
So
I went and checked it out too. It's in Kindle Unlimited, so I'm going to download that.
nice.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, thanks.
Your book sounds, just from the short amount that you read, it sounds very heavy. Is it?
Yeah.
So, Someday Never Came is a military contemporary romance that I would probably consider a romantic tragedy. There is not a typical HEA. It also focuses heavy on men's mental health, on how people sometimes struggle coming back from the military and going back into civilian life. It also focuses on addiction and alcohol, some drug talk. Um, and there's also information in the book. There's helplines listed. There's a note to the readers. This is definitely not everyone's cup of tea, and I'm fully aware of that. I know I got a review the other day that obviously did not read the trigger
The trigger
or
warning.
anything, and they left like a review that I was like, I am so sorry. I tried to warn people. Like, I have never once been like, this is a happy fluffy book.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you can tell by the
Um,
cover, I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
romance readers are pretty savvy. You can tell by the cover that it doesn't look light and fluffy and
Mhm.
Don't get me
full of
wrong,
laugh
like
out loud moments.
it's not all just heavy. Like
Sure.
there's some funny parts. There's like normal romance. There's a little bit of smut here and there. But the overall point is, when I wrote this, I wanted you to be able to read it and think to yourself, because I think we've all at some point been in a relationship where you were like, you questioned it later on and you were like, well, it didn't work out, but does that mean it wasn't good? Does that mean it wasn't like, so my whole thing was like in the prologue, it says, just because not all love stories get a happily ever after, that doesn't mean it wasn't love though. And I feel like a lot of the books we read are all, and they have to get their happily ever after. They have to be perfect. They have to have the house, the kids, the everything for it to have meant something. And so I wanted to kind of put something out there that was a little different than everything I know.
Yeah. Well, do you have are you in the military, or do you know?
I am not, but my grandfather was, and my dad was, and I've had lots of friends and family that were.
Yeah.
And I also interviewed active members who were like in Korea and who were in Germany right now.
Mhm.
And I reached out to veterans. Like, I tried to do as much research as I could on the topic before I went in.
I guess that's what I guess I should have asked is your research. I'm like, are you?
Yeah.
Like,
No, I
should have been like,
not
what your research?
personally.
Yeah.
No, I am not personally, but I've still seen the effects of what can happen.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to emphasize on that. And I don't think a lot of times people don't focus on men's mental health, and they kind of are like, you have to shut that down, you have to that, you have to this. And originally this book actually ended with a suicide. And when I had my little boy, I was like sitting there and I was thinking, I don't want that to be him one day. I don't want him to get to the point to where he's afraid he can't reach out because of like the narrative. And so I rewrote Jensen's story because I couldn't stand the thought of that for my kid one day.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's why Jensen didn't die from suicide.
Well, that is heavy. You kind of warned us, even like in our
Yep.
chat, like, oh, it's heavy. And we're like, okay, sure, it's like heavy, but it's
Sorry.
definitely heavy. No, you're good. No, you're totally awesome.
We like to hear everything here
Yes.
at Romance
Yeah.
Happy Hour. I mean, as long as it's romance, we are,
Mhm.
yeah,
There's
we're
definitely
up
romance
for
in
it.
it.
Yeah.
Yep, we're up for it.
I
So we
promise
did
the
have,
next one the next one I'm working on is not as dark. I promise you that much.
Yeah.
I was going to say, we did have one question from Jennifer. I'm going to go ahead and pop it up there. And then we should probably hear from Noreen, but she wants to know, what was your inspiration for this book?
I'll be honest, I don't know. I couldn't fall asleep. I kind of had like a dream one night when I was like in and out of sleep, and it just snowballed. I don't think that there was a particular moment. I was at the beach and it was cold out, and I was like, what a fantastic place this would be to like have a town inspired by this. So Phantom Shores will now be in all of my novels. And it just kind of started like that. I couldn't sleep, and then it was almost like it was haunting me. And my every waking moment, I couldn't focus on anything else. And I was like, if I don't write it down, it's never going to leave me alone. So it just kind of appeared one day and never left.
Mhm.
So it kind of haunted me.
Not
All
nice.
right.
Okay, so let's ask though Noreen that question. I'm like, oh, nice, but it wasn't nice. I mean, like it was haunting you.
Well,
But
I
it
want to hear Noreen read first.
You don't
And
want
then
to
we-
ask. You don't want to ask her what her inspiration was first.
I want to hear her inspiration after we hear her
Okay.
read. Don't
Okay.
you?
Sure. Yeah. Let's do that.
Okay.
It's
I
going to
think
be very different. Sorry, because this is like a rom-com.
no, that's
So
fine.
we're going to switch gears. I just want to let you know.
That-
So I'm going to
Someone
read
has to
from
save
yeah.
the podcast.
No, that's great.
You could.
So I'm going to read from the beginning of the book and then a little bit from his perspective. So this is Sana, my female protagonist, begins in her perspective. Sana, it is a truth universally acknowledged that a single Desi woman in want of getting her nagging mom off her back must eventually settle for the most boringly rishta alive, Ammi. Okay, my mother really didn't say that. She has never read Jane Austen, while I have read Pride and Prejudice and Persuasion at least as many times as Ami has tried to set me up with an arranged suitor. And that's a lot. A click-clack of heels reverberates down the hall. Ooh, you brought me a laddu. You are a bestie, Annie squeals. I swivel to face her. My chair squeak, cutting through the drone of the copier next to my cubicle. Ami asked me to bring laddus tonight. I spent my whole lunch hour finding them, and they cost a fortune because this place makes them fresh. Now scram. I wave a dismissive hand at her. Annie and I have known each other all our lives, so of course she doesn't retreat, but moves right next to the box and hitches herself up to sit on the long desk. Then she creeps her fingers towards the sweet chickpea mounds, floor fried in ghee. I smack her hand. Let me concentrate. I have to finish a few emails, then scramble to Ummi's before they arrive. I bite my tongue, but too late. They? Annie's expression clicks in understanding. Got a hot rishta date tonight, Habibti? A shudder runs up my spine as I recall the last rishta, Junaid. He wanted to marry him and his twin daughters in a hurry. I was able to overlook the recently deceased wife and the canary yellow teeth. What I couldn't ignore was how he hightailed it out of there the second I mentioned Zia. My brother is all things good in the world, encapsulated into an adorable 17-year-old boy. So what if he's on the spectrum? He's perfect to me. To hell with whoever thinks otherwise. If I have to pick between Zia and marriage, is it really a choice? He and I are a package deal. However, Ami often mentions Zia's impending guardianship trust and my being married in the same sentence. In her mind, marriage and security are interlinked. For so long, my father was the provider for our family, at least while he still had his 9 to 5. Ami never learned how to drive because he drove her everywhere. He treated her like a queen. Not that she deserved anything less, but now, every time she mentions marriage and Z's future together, it's not it's not so thinly veiled hint. If I don't settle down soon, I won't be named Zia's primary caretaker in the guardianship trust she's put together for him now that he's 17. I know she's right, but I just can't let go of the idea that one of these days, my very own Captain Wentworth, someone so perfect he's practically fictional, will sweep me off my feet. There are reasons I hide Rishta setups from Annie. One, because she thinks this antiquated matchmaking ritual should have retired with our parents. Two, because she wants hourly updates when she knows about the Rishta meetings. Annie quirks an eyebrow. You're still doing that, are you? This single eyebrow raise is more impressive than a fresh mango lassi. No matter how many times I've tried, I haven't even come close to the amount of condescension she packs into this single gesture. But Annie is good at a lot of things. Dressing impeccably is one. Right now, she's wearing a dark maroon sweater dress and riding boots. She's ready for a meeting with the new Deputy Attorney General assigned to my case or to go to an after work party. Unlike me in my mismatched hijab and long loose shirt over corduroy pants, Annie is also engaged to a swoon worthy, successful Desi man, while I'm still meeting with arranged suitors at my mother's house. I let out a cleansing breath and click on my email. Yeah, not everyone finds a person in high school, even though you did give poor Haroon quite the runaround. Haroon needed to grow up from being a coddle mama's boy before he could convince me to spend eternity with him. And can you blame me? It's not like my parents had a perfect marriage like yours. Some people settle, others chase ghosts. She points her perfectly manicured finger in my direction. Who's the poor suitor this time? A green card hunter, fresh off the boat? God, I hope not. The matchmaker from the masjid chased my sister down. Apparently, he's a good catch. How many minutes do I have? Sorry, I want to read some from his point of view too. Do I have a few minutes to read from his
Yeah,
point of
you
view?
got a few minutes still.
Okay. So this is her perspective, and then I'm switching to his. Daniel, damn it, I'm being ghosted. I tap my watch for the umpteenth time, and yeah, he's way beyond fashionably late. An hour and a half late. America has become home. The pro bono client said when he begged for my help to stay in this country. No matter what has gone right or wrong since he's been here, this is home now, away from poverty and war. But I'm less irritated at the client who has apparently decided to not show up, and more because I don't want to be surrounded by high school kids let loose. Being back in New York is bittersweet. Growing up especially here wasn't easy, especially for a fresh off the boat like me. In high school, I was the Baki with an accent. I miss my narrow, dusty streets, my siblings, and all things Islamabad. I miss my birth mother sometimes too, but forgiveness is hard. In her defense, she had an asshole for a husband. Sorry, I don't know if I could say that. All his money was spent on alcohol and get rich schemes to compete with his rich in-laws. My mother left a life of privilege, and my father died trying to achieve one. Every place I've lived has a part of me, every house a piece. That's a lot of missing pieces if you've been uprooted and replanted several times. I've changed homes, countries, names. The ache and sense of loss are part of my DNA. And I've never stopped missing her, my childhood and teenage best friend. The one I left at 16 when the strife between her father and my uncle drove my family out of town. The one I always think of the second I set foot in New York. If Ami, my aunt and adoptive mother, weren't in the fourth stage of colorectal cancer, would probably never come back here, but she wanted to make things right. As a promise to her late father, as a promise to her late husband, my uncle. To her, old matters still need closure in this town. In my view, closure is a double edged sword. Digging into wounds that haven't healed only makes them bleed more. But when you love someone, all you want is for them to be happy, even when it's not the easiest thing to do, nor the most rational. And I love Ummi, the only real parent I've known. So here we are, after selling the house in California, packing up and uprooting, back to the best friend turned stranger's town. When I circle around to make sure I haven't missed my client, this kid in the booth near the window catches my eye. He's a teenager, but looks like he could be on the autism spectrum. He's covered his ears to shut out the noise and is rocking back and forth. Some asshat teenagers across the dining area are taunting him. He looks like he's about to cry. He looks like he's all alone. Who'd walk off and leave a defenseless kid by himself? I approach the group. What's going on? The tallest of the group replies, "Mind your own business." I pull out my Deputy Attorney General badge and watch the color drain from from this obnoxious boy's face. He puts up a hand and retreats. "We were just trying to be friendly, sir." I jab my finger at him, then apologize. These are the kind of jerks I've dealt with all my life. Part of me wants to teach him a lesson. My jaw tenses and I curl my fingers in order to keep myself from hurting him. The miscreant mutters, "Sorry." All that fake bravado sheds off him like fall leaves. A shuffle of feet close by makes me glance up. It's a woman. Her face is flushed, and she watches the bullied boy like she knows him. The idiotic teenager I force to apologize flips me the bird, then before I can stop him, sticks a foot out and trips her. I lunge for her, trying to catch her before her head hits the corner of the booth. The instant my hands touch her, I freeze. Maybe it's the sugar rush. I shouldn't have had that McFlurry, or I'm just having a lucid dream. She smells of jasmine and coconut. Her eyes are the color of sandalwood and bright as the summer sun. She matches every outline of the face that's haunted my memories since adolescence. I've stored that outline where I keep all my precious dreams and, above all, my hope. I think I'll stop here.
That's perfect. That was so awesome. And go ahead, Dylan. Did you just breathe like you were going to say something?
I was going to say, what inspired you to write that book, Noreen?
Well, I mean, persuasion, because I feel like it's my favorite book, and I just think that the family politics and the entire setup is just so perfect for an Indian family and matchmaking and the politics of family. So yeah, that and obviously my own experiences. You always write from what you know, as a writer. So all of that mixed in,
Yeah.
So for both of you, you both just published your debut novel. Is that the first manuscript you've ever written that you published? I know there are a lot of us that have, our first manuscript that will never see the light of day, that's, hidden on an external hard drive somewhere that, maybe could, I don't know, get smashed and no one would care. But are both of you, is that the first book that you've ever written that you published, or do you have secret manuscripts hiding somewhere?
Well, I did write a book when I was 12 that I'm pretty sure, although the protagonist in that book was also named Sana. So I think that's the only thing I carried over from that manuscript. But yeah, this is like my first, I guess, serious novel you could say that I've written and, gone on to. So
I also wrote one. I don't know if I was 12, but I was actually telling my children about this the other day because I was talking about they're like, "What was it about, Mom?" I'm like, "A warrior princess and trolls and
Wait,
quest."
Just kidding.
I know. I'm like, okay, that was original, right?
How about you,
But
Autumn? You look like you're about to share a secret with us.
Yeah. I actually rage deleted my whole first book about a year and a half ago. I deleted Wicked Little Games in its entirety. I had a release date for it. I was ready to go. I have the cover. I decided I hated it. Just one day,
oh
just like,
no, I just can't. I've never heard of an author that deleted it though.
oh no, it's gone. And I
Oh
won't
my
lie.
god.
It needed to be though. It needed to be gone. I promise you that. Because
Mm-hmm.
the storyline I still love, and I think I was trying to figure out how to write because I had never attempted before and
Mm-hmm.
never didn't know what I was doing, didn't have
Mm-hmm.
a, clue. And then I looked at it one day and I was like, I do not ever want this to see the light of day. So, Wicked Little Games will eventually come out, but not right now.
Yeah.
No, that sucker had to go. It was so bad. I won't lie.
Well, hopefully you got something out of it. I mean, as an author, you hate to think of wasted words or deleting that many words, but I always try to remind myself that every word you write, even if you might not keep it, like you're still kind of, crafting, and you're still practicing the craft and all that.
And
So,
at
I
the
think
very least, it's an amazing title.
Wicked
mhm.
Little Games. Oh, it's gonna be good. I'm excited for that one. I think for me, what I took out of it was the fact that I could do it.
Yep.
Because I'm not sure I can do this.
Mhm.
And I was like, okay, I done it. I didn't do it well, but I did it. And so now I can figure out what to do and how to fix it and what
Mhm.
to. So that was my whole thing was I just wanted to complete it to prove to myself that I could.
Yep.
And then I had to take a break from it, and that's when Someday Never Came kind of took over in my
Mhm.
mind. And one day I will get back to Wicked Little Games.
Mhm.
What about you, Noreen? Have you ever deleted words? And how did you
Oh
feel while you were
gosh. um, I have so many times. This book before we sold, like I've had so many drafts. Sometimes, like you have the old drafts and you read through it. I'm like, what was I thinking writing?
Mhm.
Even like now, I read this book. And obviously I'm on my third book now, and publishing takes a while. I'm sure you guys know. I mean, I sold this book in 2022.
Mhm.
So obviously I've done other things. So like when I look back, I still think like, oh my God, did I write this? So
Mhm.
yeah, of course you grow as a writer. You cringe at your old writing. I don't know of any writer who ever says, oh, my first draft was perfect. Your story really takes shape in revisions. I feel like, I
Mhm.
mean, I'm a pantser, so I don't even plot. I just have like loose points and I go off on that, and the characters don't even like really start um shaping until the second draft, or as my friend likes to call, zero draft. So
Mhm.
yeah.
And it looks like in the link you're published with Penguin Random House. So you're
Yeah.
traditionally published.
Yep, I
Okay.
am traditionally published. Yep. And I have a audiobook with Tantor, but I think
Okay.
it's on Audible. It's on all the platforms, I think.
Mhm.
And are both of those with Penguin?
Uh I
Both.
just I just have the one book.
The one book. Okay.
Yeah, I have a anthology that is not on an audiobook format, that was printed by Macmillan. But that's a YA anthology, but that's also, available by a traditional publisher. It's available in bookstores.
I gotcha. Okay, Dylan. Well, I don't see any more questions. Do you have any more?
No, we didn't have well, there is another question that Jennifer asked. But yeah, tonight we have not had a ton of questions. Jennifer wants to know, if your book was made into a movie, who would play the lead characters? So let's start with you, Autumn. Have you thought about that?
No.
No?
I don't think I ever even.
Do you picture somebody, or I don't know, sometimes authors will have like Pinterest boards, or they'll, like find a picture of, I don't know, Levi's model or something. I mean, I've pulled pictures just off the internet or whatever and kind of put them on my little vision board as character inspiration.
I guess whoever like could pull off Jensen Dean Adler. I don't know. Dude's been someone who can look traumatized, I guess. Lord have
It's
mercy.
okay.
I don't know.
You don't have to know. That's all right.
That's gonna be stuck in my head though forever. I'm gonna be like, who would play that?
Well, now you have to think about it. How about you, Noreen?
I think I was always picturing this actor. He's actually a Pakistani actor, Ali Abbas. He's a beard and like the features. So when I was sending the book designer, because the publisher asked me like, what were you? So I sent her all these mood boards and all these YouTube clips of how I imagined them, and so I have like this whole image because that's how I think. So definitely her. And then for her, I was, another Indian actress, Priyanka Chopra. I don't know if you've heard of this. So I was thinking more of her, yeah, because she's like, darker, because Sana is a little bit darker complexion. So I was thinking of Priyanka Chopra, and so yeah, if I was to do a cast, then those two.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, hopefully now that we put it out there, it will, materialize someday.
Fingers crossed.
Yep.
All right.
I think we it for questions, but
yeah, and we are over time just by 1 minute, but we're still over time.
We're not though, Dawn, because we started a few minutes late.
Oh, that's true. We did. I was like proud of us, Dylan. You crushed my dreams. I love it when we go over time.
Well, we always go over time.
We always go over time.
This time we're actually still under time by a little over 2 minutes. So
okay. All right.
So yeah, so if anybody has a last minute question that they want to throw in there, feel free. Otherwise, we can have Noreen and Autumn both tell us, where's the best place to find you online? Do you have like a reader group or a newsletter? I think both of you said you had newsletters, or I know Noreen said you had a newsletter. I'm assuming Autumn, you probably do too. Where's the best place to connect with you?
My Instagram has my link tree in it. It has basically everything you need. We have Autumn's Reader Rehab on Facebook. People go in there and yell at me for what I write. It's sometimes very active, and then it's silent, and then all of a sudden someone reads the book and they're like, "What happened to you?" And I'm like, "Nothing. I'm sorry."
Oh my gosh. And what about you, Noreen?
I am active on Insta, and my link tree's on there, and my newsletter's on there. I'm always on Twitter, going off on something, on people saying romance doesn't need an HEA. No, it does. So I'm always giving my opinions freely on Twitter, and sometimes on Thread. Threads, and you can follow me there. You can follow me on Insta, sign up for my newsletter. I send those out. I don't have a Facebook reader group, but I am, thinking of starting one. But yeah, I'm here for anybody who has any questions.
Okay, great.
Perfect.
And Jennifer did pop one last question in.
Okay. All right, Jennifer.
Right under the timing. So we're going to speed answer this one. She wants to know, is there a genre you wouldn't read or write?
I don't think there's a genre that I wouldn't write. I probably would always lean towards romance because it's my happy place. I don't know if I'd read high fantasy or dystopian too much, so I don't know. And then if I don't read it, then I don't know if I could write it. You have to be able to read, in order to write it. So I think that's probably.
And how about you, Autumn?
Let's just think. I am a big romantasy girl, so give me all the high fantasy romance you want. I'll read it all day long. I originally had hoped that I would be able to write it, but I learned very quickly I'm better off just reading it. So I think the only thing I don't personally read a lot of and probably wouldn't write is I did attempt to write it once in a live write with Yolanda Olson because she's like the queen of like horror and like taboo like books and stuff. She puts them out like crazy. But I cannot write horror and I can't read horror because then I can't sleep at night. Because I like someone rings my doorbell and I'll be on the ground. Like,
I hear you on
looking
that.
out of the window. So
Yeah.
I don't think that that's something that I could ever really do. Other than that, no, I'm pretty open. I'm pretty open-minded about. But no,
Nice.
I can't do the horror. Can't do the no. Freaks
All
me out
right.
too much.
Yeah, I'm definitely with you on that one.
Yeah, me too.
And now we're over, Dawn. So
And now we're
you-
over. All right. Well, viewers, thank you for joining us tonight. And thank you, ladies, for joining us tonight. We had a lot of fun with you. Like I said, it went so fast. Like even I was like, oh my gosh, it's already time to pop you guys up there. And I've been chatting away. So you guys already told them where to find you. There is a giveaway going on our page. You can win. I think there's a paperback and an ebook up for grabs, or audio. And so pop over to Romance Happy Hour if you haven't already and enter their giveaways. And we will see you on the 4th Thursday
Yes.
in October. Yes.
Yes.
And
Good
Dylan
job,
will
Dawn.
be there. She will be there.
Yes,
the
we'll both
following
be
one.
there October 24th.
Yep. And we will see you later.
All right. Thanks for
Good
joining
night,
us.
guys.
Thanks for
Take
having
care.
us.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.